Hello, I want to do a video on a great little museum I saw. This is in, as you can see from the sign, Archer County, and that's Archer County, Texas, but it's actually in Archer City. So this is the county museum, and the great thing about both the county and the city are that they are in the middle of nowhere. This is part of a tradition within my family. Whenever it's like Father's Day or my birthday or something like that, I love to pick a new town, a small one, and just head out and check it out. And there never is a lot to see. That's part of the charm. But they always have a museum, and honestly, it's always awesome. So I want to get across an idea of the diverse collection of stuff you can see in these little country museums. And this one, by the way, is in the former jail. And this first item up is a Native American lance, and it was a little humorous. They had it labeled as kind of a war lance, like specifically an actual weapon. And I took, if I recall, and I took one look at it and knew it wasn't. But this would be more ceremonial prestige thing to carry around, and it's huge. And I just love the gnarled look, and it's really neat that they have it, though. That's the thing about this. They collect anything from the area. People have something interesting, and what else are they going to do with it? So they give it to the local museum. And that's one. And here's another jail log. And you know me, right away I asked if I could read through it, and they said yes. So pretty cool. That's the great thing about these little museums too. They're always very friendly. It's usually it's always one employee, and that's it. Pretty delighted that someone's in there and wanting to look around and check stuff out. So I got to look in there, and it was pretty humorous. There was a whole lot of drunkenness on the ledger. If you're wondering what the number one cause of trouble was back in the day, that was definitely it. But I really like this entry here because it's actual highway robbery, which is pretty cool. They had some violent crimes, as you could imagine. They did. This was not a safe time. I think people like to mythologize this era. This is pre-World War II, as kind of the safe, comforting past and leave your doors unlocked and all that. But it was kind of a lawless land at the same time. And here you go, as evidence of that. This is from the inside of the jail, and it's a bullet hole. They don't even show this to you. I just noticed it on my own. And I did notice there was a jailbreak in that logbook, so this might have been from that incident. Pretty harrowing stuff for the guard, the policeman who was working in there whenever this happened. And this jail was not just a drunk tank. Look at that door. This is serious business, right? That's a maximum security portal there, and the reason is this is where they kept death row inmates for the county, and also where they executed them. And you even see the spot, the noose, everything, and it has the hatch and everything you'd expect, but it's all on the inside, which I totally did not expect. It's up in the attic just to make it extra creepy, but you get to see things like that as well. And again, you just have no idea what you're going to find in any one of these little museums. I've never been to one that includes the jail before. So it was some great picture taking in there. Look at the character on that metal. This is part of the maximum security wing. It's a very tiny wing, as you can imagine, because the whole thing was pretty small. The whole building overall. But I just love that shot, and it's would not be a fun place to stay. Speaking of not knowing what you're going to find, they have rooms with just all kinds of different things thrown together, and we're in one and came across this, a human skull. So this was found by a farmer way back when, as he was plowing his field and didn't know what to do with it. So, like I talked about earlier, just handed it over to the museum. They said it was Native American, and as you can tell, it's just a little bit shocking to look at. My kids got a fright from it, but they're better for the experience. Now, as far as skulls on the less morbid side, you have a lot of animal bones and skulls in a place like this. And this one was really cool because it's a prehistoric creature. I forget the name. Kind of looked like a Dimetrodon, but it wasn't. Of a type that ran all over Texas. They weren't particularly big, and they look almost cartoonish, don't they? The skull, but you get to see one up close. I'd never seen one before, and it's really awesome. But the weathering on there, it's just up on a table too. They let you touch it, and so we did. And here in one of the jail cells, so they have to kind of multitask here, right? So you're touring the jail, and on one of the bunks in one of the cells, they have a bunch of Native American artifacts. And you can guess which one my favorite was, so I've already done the close-up on it here in this picture, and that's, of course, the Stone War Club. You would think of it as a stone axe, which it is, but basically you'd classify it officially as a war club. You can see how it's lashed together, and the stone here is particularly flat, so they made this one as axe-like as possible. That definitely wasn't always the case. There's a wide variety of Native American war clubs, and the stones were sometimes oval, round, somewhat axe-like, you name it. And that kind of transitions us into the weapons of war, which that last one was. And there's a lot of these because you had veterans come back, and then after a while, just they had spoils of war like this. This is a World War I German helmet, And you can see the camouflage on there, right? The pattern, and sometimes they had some brightly colored ones. This is not one of them. This is more what we would kind of expect as camouflage, but it still looks great. And I'd never seen one that was anything other than just plain. But as I was saying before, you had veterans come home, and after a while, I just wanted to do something with this stuff. So again, it got collected here. So this is a great one. And war trophies by GIs just litter small town museums because they brought back a lot. I've seen plenty of really cool stuff in museums like this one. And speaking of that kind of thing, and sticking to World War One, here's an actual gas mask. So anyone who has read All Quiet on the Western Front or just knows anything about World War One knows how nasty this form of warfare was. And here's an actual piece of it. And it's really neat with this kind of thing too, because they'll have a little placard and you can read about like which family donated it and everything. And just imagine this is rural Texas. I mean, to this day, it's really sparsely populated. So you can imagine the people getting plucked out from there to go fight off on the European continent. What that experience must have been like for them. Talk about just a total world change. And we're gonna move up wars now. And here, as you can tell, is a Japanese flag. So of course this is from World War II. And again, just kind of sitting there with all this other stuff. They had uniforms and really cool stuff. Just took some highlights here to show you guys again the diversity you see and how up close you can get to a lot of really neat stuff if you visit this kind of place. And to get a little bit more balance back and get away from the weapons of war, here's a saddle. This is from a champion rider, right? The rodeo's a very big deal out in the country, still is. And imagine back then when it was one of the only forms of entertainment. And this is champion's saddle, and obviously saddle making was an art. Out west, you had some legendary saddle makers, and this actually wraps into my specialty, saps, because this would be a master leather worker out in the country, and he'd also be the one that would turn out some saps. So you get some highly collectible ones just because they happen to have been made by the kind of person who would have made one of these. And that's it for the Archer County Museum. Thanks.